Despite the constant glorification of athletes and their lifestyles in the mass media, there are still several critical issues within the world of sports. Specifically within collegiate athletics, these issues infringe on athletes' academic, social, and emotional well-being. With this show, we aim to not only build a stronger consciousness on these taboo issues, but also serve as the voice of the athlete. We hope you engage, enjoy, and learn something new along the way. Previously on Top 5. We sat down with several athletes and talked about the value of a degree.
Initially, you're supposed to jump into a school based off how they can help you after football, academically and in the business world after football, because football doesn't last forever. The average career is like less than 5 years.
Mental health.
Yeah, I went through depression for that first quarter of school through summer. I was really hard on myself because I had always been the girl who just did it, who made it happen, who, like, her life seemed perfect to other people because, you know, she had everything going for herself.
It's like where you win and it's not even like an accomplishment, it's more of like you had to do it. And so I kind of felt like that's where I was in this time.
Injuries and faith.
And then I tore my ACL, my life was like drastically different. And I went to UTC and they were like, look, like your sport is great and all, but at the end of the day, like this is what we get to do to like praise the God.
And life after sports.
You know, it's so much life, and basketball is a small part of your life, so you have to prepare yourself, you have to align yourself with brands, you gotta, you know, be able to make the seamless transition into another space to live your life.
And now, here we begin the journey of our second season, starting with this episode on what it's like being a Polynesian student athlete. Let's get started.
Okay, welcome back, guys, to Top 5. Here I have a few special guests, actually, Lanea, Peter, and Devin, all here today. So it's going to be a really exciting discussion, a little bit about Polynesian culture, and also about being a student athlete. So let's actually just start with like an introduction, name, major, sport that you did. Also school, I guess now. We have an addition today for a non-UCLA resident. I'm Christina, first and foremost, if you don't already know, but we'll go on to our guest.
Okay, I'm Lanea Tuiasosopo. I'm a rower here at UCLA, and I'm a communications major.
I'm Peter Sekona. I'm a fourth year at CAL. I played 3 years of rugby, and now I'm an ISF major.
Devin Asiasi, third year here at UCLA, and I play football.
So, first and foremost, one thing that I thought was really dope was seeing like the general like Polynesian culture on campus, college campus, and it just seemed like you guys really had each other's backs. Like you guys really kind of like stand up for each other. You guys really kind of treat each other like a family. Is it really as close as it seems?
Pretty close, in my opinion. Like I feel like I can go to them and be real with them.
Right.
Like if I'm going through something, they're always there to be supportive, or like, you know, if I want to have fun, they're there for that too.
Right.
So like the highs and lows, and we just kind of like get each other.
Yeah, CAL is a show like that. Like, I got like 4 brothers, and they already graduated, and they're like Samoan Tongan. We talk every day, even like past graduation. They always checking in on me, making sure I'm good and all that. So like, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I just like just seeing a fellow Polynesian on campus, whoever it is. It doesn't have to be someone that you actually know, someone on the team, just someone who's a fellow Polynesian, seeing them at a university, trying to do something better for their life. So I think that's what makes it even more closer. So.
Right, because it's like interesting. I was talking to Peter earlier today, and we were talking about how it's like you guys are really like a minority of a minority. Because like a lot of the times, like I think about like the black student population on campus, which is like really really small at like UCLA and CAL, and don't forget like you guys are even like smaller. Like what percent are you guys even on UCLA's campus? Like, is there a percentage, or is it just like
less than one, like less than a 10.
Like 0.8.
At CAL, I think it was 0.02 at CAL.
Oh, wow,
I think we're
that's crazy.
0.01, something like
that.
Is that? Oh, man, I didn't even know that low.
Yeah.
And I think that's even like nice. Like if we really broke it down, I think it's smaller than that.
Right. That's really interesting to me. And then even like thinking about how low a population that is, I think it's cool that you were saying that you guys kind of like all respect each other, whether you're like an athlete or like a non-athlete. And I think just because sometimes like I know like UCLA, there's somewhat of a divide between like black students and black student athletes. And like it doesn't seem like there's that as much, but do you guys think there is still like kind of like a Polynesian divide between like black students at like Cal or UCLA versus like, or not black students, Polynesian students and Polynesian student athletes?
It's just, for us, it's just good to see another Polynesian out there in the university, whether he's an athlete or a non-athlete.
Right.
Just the progress of our people is what we really care about. So when we see another Polynesian coming into the school, studying whatever it is, we see a football player coming into the school, basketball player, whatever the case may be, we're just always going to support them because we want our people to do good. We always want to see our people progress and do better, you know what I'm saying, in America. So,
right.
The roots of our people come from like a super small island, like thousands of miles away. So to see and like a piece of our people make it to like a university, like it's like you feel proud. Even though I am a student in myself, I'm like proud to see another student from my background have kind of walked a similar path as me to make it there, whether sport or not.
Also, I kind of wanted to talk about like stigmas or stereotypes that are on like Polynesian student athletes. Like I know we were kind of talking, you were talking about how you row and how that's kind of like a stereotypical, like, or traditional at least Polynesian sport. Is that the case also with like rugby and football?
Yeah, well, like even like back at the islands, like rugby is the national sport, like, and it's like prideful. You want your kid to go play rugby. You want to like see your kid compete and all that. But at the same time, like the stigmas I face here is like I was like the token Polynesian rugby player on my team. Like, they needed me to like feel validation for their rugby team. Or like, I don't know, you feel me?
Yeah, I mean, football, I think it's the same thing. It's just, I feel like whenever you're Polynesian, you're at a school, everybody's like expecting you to play football or rugby. So like when you're walking around campus, they're like, oh, you play football or you play rugby. So, I mean, it's kind of, for our families, you're kind of growing up. When you're growing up, you're expected to play sports. Or it's kind of like that pressure, you playing sports. But I think for us, it's like we want to break down those barriers. We don't want to just be those people who just are only sticking to one sport. We want to be able to go like whatever, like golf or volleyball or like, you know, tennis, whatever the case may be.
So like you can get that representation other ways,
For me, like boat racing is a really traditional sport, and my grandpa used to row, things like
so
that.
It's like deep in your family.
Yeah, but I had never known about rowing as a Division I sport until I got to college, and it just kind of like has been something I've realized that like there's not a lot of Polynesian women in the sport, and it's something that I want in the future, like just for there to be more representation for Polynesian athletes in sports that aren't typically viewed as Polynesian, such as like rugby and football. Like there's so many potential opportunities in my sport for women of Polynesian background.
Definitely, I agree. So going off of like the fact of kind of like having these stereotypes about all athletes in general too. So I think like one thing that is like a stereotype is like being a student athlete in general is like very glamorized. Like people are like, wow, like you go to Cal, you go to UCLA, if you're a student athlete, like wow, superstar, like all this stuff, right? But it's like there's so much more that goes into it. Plus going to these schools, I think specifically, it's just like it's hard. Like going to UCLA is hard. Like taking classes, even at Cal, whatever, it's hard. And I think a lot of students like negate that fact and they just kind of think, oh, student athletes have like the easy way out. So kind of to like counter that for like each of you guys, what is like something, whether it's like a pressure or like a commitment that you guys make that you don't think like as an athlete that you don't think the student like population like understands?
I mean, as a football player, the commitment of just being a football player and dealing with the schedule that we have, it's probably one of the most difficult things that in the university, like as a student athlete. I mean, you're expected to go to weights in the morning from like 6 to 8 o'clock or 8 to 10 o'clock, whatever the case is. Then after that in the afternoon, you got classes, and you have to come back to do, you know, extra workouts or meeting times and stuff like that. Then after that, you got to catch up with like tutoring sessions for classes that you have to make up for the rest of the day. So it's like, I don't think people understand the fact that, you know, our schedule is not really built around our academics. Our academics are built around our football schedule. So I mean, I feel like people need to start to realize that more. and start to like respect that out of student athletes, especially us football players, because we put a lot on the line for ourselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's one of the.
I think it's so interesting, especially for like football, because that is a that's a sport that I think that's so glamorized. Like people are like, wow, like you play football, like you really have it handed to you, and it's like, no, with like the same like that same like visibility is like there's that much more like expectation, that much more commitment that you guys have to put in, just because like all these eyes are like on you guys. Exactly. So that's interesting.
I feel like one of the pressures as like a Polynesian that gets slept on is like family pressure. Like a lot of times I'm doing a lot of stuff in college,
right?
Because my family has like faith in me. I'm almost like a role model to like uncles and like aunties and like nephews and all that. And so a lot of times I'm just like feel like I'm carrying a burden for like people that like they never had the opportunities that I'll be getting every day. And it's just like I mean, knowing Dev's background just like mine, like we had cousins turn to the streets, you know what I'm saying? We had uncles like die young. So when they hear that we made it to a university, like the whole family gets behind us, and we're just kind of put on that pedestal to like burden it all and like carry all that pressure. So that's like outside of school, that's like a huge pressure I definitely felt throughout college.
You don't realize that until you go back home. Like when you go back home and you see all these kids like looking up to you and seeing what you're doing and trying to follow in your footsteps, it's like a gratifying feeling, but at the same time it's like, damn, like I gotta be on my shit when I go back to school and stuff like that.
And also like, am I worthy? Like me, out of all my family members, like why did I get this opportunity type thing? And like just like understanding that I got something and I gotta make the most of it, not only for me but for everybody watching me, for real.
I have a lot of pride in like my family and my background and my name, and I just want to make sure that I'm representing them to the best of my ability every day. And like being a student athlete is a huge blessing. Like, we have so many amazing resources, and the fact that we get an education from this university and get to play a sport is like incredible. But I think sometimes people don't see that like there are those time commitments. Like my bus leaves at 5:30 a.m.
Right. I know you guys wake up early. Early.
And we have practice, and then we have another practice in the afternoon, and people are slipping in, office hours, class, treatment, internship. Like we don't have the NFL. We have to prepare for a career. Like we know that's our route.
That's true.
And then on top of that, it's more than just time. It's the fact that you're exhausted.
Right.
Like you're sitting in class and you can barely keep your eyes open. And it's like it's not that we don't want to be there. It's that like we're physically exhausted.
Right.
And we're trying to just juggle a lot of hats, but they're also great blessings to be able to juggle those things.
I agree. I think that's definitely one thing where it's like a lot of people have these stigmas towards athletes where it's like you're not paying attention in class, like oh they're late again. It's like, well, I'm late because my coach let me out late. I can't leave early, like this is my scholarship, on the line or whatever the case is. But it's also like I'm not trying to fall asleep in class, like I'm really trying to pay attention, but it's like I can't retain part of the information because I'm so tired. That's
also
bad.
Like as a Polynesian, so much of what we learn doesn't represent us at all. So it's like hard to pay attention to stuff that I can't even resonate with.
That's true.
Yeah, I've had one class my whole time here taught by a Polynesian professor.
Right.
And like that's that's rare. Like the fact that we get that here at this university, I'm sure that's not common at other universities.
That's crazy.
But it's like we're not represented in our own course material.
Yeah.
That's true. That's crazy. And then even thinking about like all the like obligations you guys have, like all the commitments you guys have, I think one thing that's like not talked about enough is like mental health issues within like the athletic community and stuff like that too. And I think it's also a little bit different between like women and men too, and then also in general about student athletes. So do you guys think there is like a mental health issue kind of within collegiate athletics or like sports?
Well, I definitely feel like in the past, where there's been many incidents about student athletes and things like that, situations that have been going on.
Right.
I feel like my locker room, UCLA, for our UCLA football team, has done a good job of creating an open environment where we can talk to each other and like rely on each other if we're ever going through things at home and stuff like that. So I feel like there needs to be a more spread of awareness on things like that, because just like women, men go through the same things. We go through our mental issues. We go through things in like with school, family, football, whatever the case may be. So I feel like there needs to be a more open environment for men to be able to talk about their feelings and things that they're going through each and every day. Because There's a lot of shit that we be going through. So.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that masculinity factor like kicks in. Like in a locker room, you don't want to be that guy going through it. Everyone's too prideful and they never want to like give an inch to like look after one another. And I think, especially with the Polynesian community, from my like experience, like it's not addressed at all really, like mental health issues.
No.
Like you're just kind of like left.
You're like not at all.
It's low key the same way.
Yeah, so it's just like hard. But like I said, like those 4 guys that were on the football team at Cal that like I got tight with, like we check on each other like every day. We talk about each other's mental health. Like one's in Green Bay right now. We still chop it up every day. One's in San Mateo. We chop it up every day. And then I got one who's still with me. So it's like I feel like this new generation, especially our generation of Polynesian, especially Polynesian Americans, we definitely try to look after each other a little more than maybe the generations before us really understood when it came to mental health.
Right. Uniquely to rowing, and a lot of women's sports, but rowing has the #1 incidences of eating disorders. It's like the highest percentage, just because like when you have to go into a boat, you're weight adjusted, so your scores are weight adjusted, so the heavier you are.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So it's
That's
like
crazy.
there's a lot of pressure to be light. And that's just like inherently part of the sport, but at the same time, like they lead to a lot of eating disorders.
Right.
And I've seen those struggles on my team, as well as with like depression, anxiety, and things like that. And over our 4 years, like we've definitely started to work into the dialogue, the importance of checking in on one another and just loving each other where they're at and giving each other grace where it's needed. But like athletics, surprisingly this year, not surprisingly, but like athletics has really stepped in and helped our team a lot with the resources we need.
So collegiate athletics is also just very unpredictable. So whether that goes to like coaching changes, whether that's like dealing with transfers, whether that's dealing with like changing positions, anything like that. So name like what was one thing that was like the most difficult in like a transition period or like an adjustment that you guys have like had to make being a college athlete?
My biggest thing, so like I'm from like a city that's so diverse, like a lot of black people, a lot of people from Latino backgrounds, Polynesians, and so like I was never really like friends with just white people. And then when I went to college, my whole team was white, and I needed to like understand what that meant, how to like maneuver with that, what to say, what to do, and also like how to be accepted as like the Polynesian on this predominantly white team. Like where do I fit in?
Right.
And I think that was like the biggest change and like the most difficult task for me. And I think I just throughout the years I played rugby, I kept trying to like figure out that puzzle piece when it just never fit. And that was okay, and I just never knew it was okay.
And so for you, is that why kind of like, or that did that contribute to the reason why you decided, it's not like for me my last year?
That wasn't the reason I quit, but it's like the reason I went through a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress.
Right.
I was just like beating myself up when I could have been okay that I was tonguing. Like there was no need to be anyone else. Like I was like putting myself through so much stuff for no reason.
Yeah.
Hopefully you okay.
I know, facts, for real. Like I needed somebody to tell me that, bro. And I was over there bending my back over.
Right. What about you guys?
I feel like for me, when I went out to Michigan my freshman year, dealing with the distance from my family, I thought I was gonna be okay. Like I made a decision for myself, and my dad had told me, and he told me that he was like, bro, you're gonna want to come back and see us, and you're gonna be like wanting to come back home all the time.
About to be cold.
You're gonna be all the way over there in Michigan by yourself, not knowing nothing around that area.
Right.
And I was just like, bro, I got this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't even trying to
Only
listen to what he
football.
says. It's just football. I went out there. I played the first season. It was good. It was solid. I enjoyed it. But then after was when I started to feel all the things that he was telling me about, like being homesick.
Right.
The snow, also like just being like locked in your dorm for like a day or like 2 days because it's like snowing all day. Like it really weighed on me. And so like when I transferred from Michigan to UCLA, just that transition of like me being at home for that like month or so was just real difficult for me because I like in my head I was just like thinking to myself like, why did I do that in the first place? Like I should have just listened to my dad, and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
What there is. But I also like believe that everything happens for a reason for me.
For sure. What about you?
For me, I played basketball and volleyball in high school, and I loved it. Like basketball was my first and true love. But then I got into UCLA for school, and I knew I needed to go there because like education first. And so then I decided to walk on to rowing. Like, hadn't really heard of it, but I thought it'd be pretty cool. And so I walked on, and like at first it was really, really tough for me, going from like these super team like vocal sports, like missing my love of basketball, missing my love of volleyball, but wanting that like team commitment.
Right.
And so like I had to transition to this idea of like, this is kind of an individual sport. Like the training's very individual, but then the execution on the water is the team sport. So just like shifting that mindset to be more like internally driven, and being okay not being very good at something. And like, yeah, and like having to learn how to get better every day and just give myself like a little bit of grace. But it paid off. Like I love it now.
So, okay, last thing. So this is a top 5 tradition. This is a surprise to all of you guys, actually, probably. But no, this is like the easiest thing. This is actually the most fun thing. You guys have to kind of work together, though, because usually we only have like one person. So, since we're about to enjoy some pizza, I'm going to have you guys name top 5 foods. It can be Polynesian food. If you guys want to educate some people, it can be any food. Yeah.
Okay, mine is curry. My stepdad makes the bombest curry ever. Like, he makes it all the time whenever I go back. Yes. So he makes the bombest curry ever. Whenever I go back home, I always tell him that he has to make me a dish before I leave. So that's top 5 for me.
Curry.
Y'all gonna hate me. I just like pizza. Like pizza.
We gotta have one guy. That's his pizza. We're about to eat some, so.
My dad, he makes this thing called Sapasui. And it's basically like Asian noodles, corned beef, but there's nothing like my dad's Sapasui.
That's fire.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3. So we got 2 more.
See, now I want to name like Lou. Like this is like it's just like this beef plate that's wrapped in a leaf, and it's like steamed and like cooked with coconut cream, coconut milk and all that in it.
Little capapulu, little Sipi.
Yeah, and it's fire. Like,
can you get that out here? Like, is there?
I mean, you can, but you just gotta know how to make it.
Right.
And that's like the OGs is making it. Like,
how about Pani Popo?
I never really like Pani Popo.
Okay, I guess we're taking it
It's too sweet. It's just too sweet for me.
I mess with it.
I have a sweet tooth.
It's too sweet. I mean, are we gonna stick to the polished stuff?
No, let's do a different one.
Well, I already said pizza, so
I'll hit some Thai food any time.
Oh, well,
wait, no, Korean barbecue.
Some pho? No, some pho.
Wait,
I'm getting shut down.
Okay, pho.
Actually, I mess with Thai food.
Pho or with some?
No, but Thai.
How about ramen?
Not Thai food.
Ramen.
Isn't it?
Vietnamese. My bad.
You don't mess with
Thai people out there. I'm sorry.
No, but Thai food is fire. Like
Thai food is fire.
Thai food. That's so broad.
Well, thank you guys all for coming on, talking, sharing your guys' stories. Today we did talk about Polynesian culture on college campuses, mental health, stigmas between men and women, also in the athletic community, and dealing with difficult transitions and pressures, being student athletes and Polynesian student athletes as well. So check us out next time. We're going to put everyone's socials and stuff like that also below, so follow them, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
gang.